Now we're going to talk about the latest developments. Political analyst Ross Feingold joins us our program to discuss China-Russia relations in the fourth year of the Ukraine war. The last known meeting between Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un was in 2019, and we are going to talk about it. Well, Ross, thank you so much for joining us here on A News.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the Asian part of the deal, because as I mentioned just a moment ago, the last meeting between Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un was in 2019, marking a phase of the renewed diplomatic warmth. However, in recent years, China has remained publicly distant from Pyongyang's growing military engagement with Russia. What do you think that has caused this shift? Is Beijing deliberately trying to distance itself from North Korea, or is it merely maintaining a strategic silence to evade international scrutiny?
It's very likely that North Korea is expanding its relationship with Russia because North Korea is in desperate need of assistance. It wants assistance with things like food, with fuel. It wants assistance with its military technology and to improve its technology. So there are a number of things that Russia can provide to North Korea. So North Korea is a willing partner. And obviously, perhaps most importantly, is that North Korea is willing to provide soldiers to fight on behalf of Russia. On the other hand, and there's been a lot of speculation about this, that China is angry at North Korea because of North Korea's new cooperation with Russia. But frankly, I don't see that. What I see is North Korea's relationship with China is still very strong. China is still the major trading partner with North Korea. China is still willing to violate UN sanctions to trade with North Korea. So even if the Russia relationship with North Korea is something new for North Korea's foreign policy, I think ultimately North Korea's best friend will still remain China.
Well, Ross, the situation is quite intense, really, and reports, let's talk about them as well, are suggesting that North Korea has sent over 10,000 troops to assist Russia in Ukraine, likely in exchange for advanced air defense systems, oil and financial support. Given the dire state of North Korea's economy and its reliance on external aid, how crucial is this military cooperation for Pyongyang's survival? And could this move be a stepping stone towards a more formal military alliance between Moscow and Pyongyang?
On the latter point, clearly they've formalized their military cooperation, and sending troops to fight for Russia is just a dramatic proof of where their military relationship is. But again, I still feel that North Korea, it will seek friends where it can. And ultimately, there are only two friends, or two serious friends that it has. One is China and the other is Russia. And both those countries can fulfill North Korea's need for things like fuel, for things like military technology assistance, medical aid, et cetera, et cetera. There are very few other countries that are A, friendly with North Korea, and B, willing to provide that and provide it at a scale that North Korea needs. So North Korea expanded its external partners to include Russia. They've dramatically deepened that relationship in the recent year and a half. But again, I still think North Korea's most important partner is China, even though Russia is clearly also an important partner to North Korea.
The hectic situation that is happening in Europe with Russia and Ukraine actually continues in the Asia, with North Korea using its missiles for trials. But we also know that they're in need of much more stuff from the other countries, as they are depending on the external stuff. So what would you say about this kind of help from Russia actually intensifying the aggression from North Korea, and may probably cause Japan, South Korea, or even the United States a problem? Do you think that this war and these conflicts are going to interact together?
Certainly, Japan and South Korea don't underestimate the risk that comes from North Korea and the risk that comes from North Korea improving its military capabilities with assistance from Russia and/or China. It's the #1 security threat for South Korea and Japan, who are treaty allies of the United States. So, of course, the United States is a stakeholder in these relationships as well. However, we also have to keep in mind that the new president, Donald Trump, did try to make a deal with North Korea. He met with Kim Jong-un 3 times during his presidency in Singapore, in Vietnam, and along the DMZ that separates the two Koreas. We don't know yet whether President Trump wants to meet with North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, again. If I had to guess, I would say he does. He considered it one of the major foreign policy accomplishments of his first presidency, even though they did not reach a deal on inspection and verification of North Korea's nuclear weapons and its research program for nuclear weapons. But I think Trump is going to try and revive that. And if he does try to revive that, then it's going to open up a whole host of other issues, such as North Korea's violation of sanctions and other countries that are assisting North Korea to violate UN sanctions. And that really was the impediment to a deal the first time around, where Kim Jong-un insisted on a rapid removal of sanctions, and President Trump was not willing to move that fast and wanted more verification of the status of North Korea's nuclear weapons research and the existence of nuclear weapons or its inventory of existing nuclear weapons in North Korea. So we're in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment. President Trump is busy with a number of other domestic issues, and on the foreign policy front, he's busy with Ukraine and Russia, obviously. So we'll have to wait until he gets around to talking about Kim Jong-un and possibly reviving those bilateral talks.
Well, let's talk about China as well, because Beijing, at the other hand, has refrained from commenting on the increasing Russian-North Korean military cooperation, despite its clear impact on the regional stability. Do you think China's passive stance is sustainable in the long run, or will it be forced to take a firmer position if North Korea's involvement in Ukraine escalates?
The interesting thing there, actually, is not so much with regard to North Korea's actions. It's for the other stakeholders like European countries and periodically the Biden administration, the United States government, while Biden was in office, they would publicly say, we hope China could play a significant role in bringing peace between Ukraine and Russia. Even the Ukraine government has periodically made that call. Their foreign minister visited Beijing in the past and asked China to be more involved with persuading its good friend Russia to reach a ceasefire deal. So it's certainly possible that in the coming days and weeks, as the U.S. and Russia talks continue to move forward and possibly get close to a deal, we're going to see more calls for China to put pressure on Russia to agree to some kind of ceasefire. Over the past 3 years, frankly, China has been reluctant to really play that role of mediator between Ukraine and Russia. It did issue some set of principles that it thought could bring the two parties back to negotiations, but frankly, that really went nowhere. So China's going to have to try a different approach if it really wants to be involved. But whether or not it wants to play this mediator role really remains to be seen at the moment.
And the newly ratified Comprehensive Strategic Partnership Treaty between Russia and North Korea includes a mutual defense clause, a significant legal commitment. If North Korean troops are formally deployed in Ukraine, could this clause provide a legal justification for Russia to support Pyongyang in a future conflict on the Korean Peninsula? What would be the implications for the regional security then?
Well, the more immediate implication is the possibility of seeing more Russian military exercises on its Pacific coast or in the waters surrounding Japan. There's certainly been a lot of Russian naval activity in recent months or in recent years in this part of the world, and they'll probably do that jointly with North Korea. So the short-term implication is we'll probably see more joint military exercises between North Korea and Russia. Over the long term, would Russia join a war with North Korea if North Korea instigates a war with South Korea? You know, the only person who knows the answer to that question is going to be whoever is the Russian president at that point in time.
Well, Ross, thank you so much for your answers. I know that the stage with Russia and North Korea and all of the partners from different conflicts are gathering together, and this is causing quite the international problem, but we will make sure to follow through all of these, and we will make sure to come back to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now let's continue with our news. Since the end of the war,